I'm calling to order this meeting of the Rhinebeck Central School District Board of Education. It's Tuesday, March 25th, 2014. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 8th, 2014 special meeting, which was a budget workshop?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any amendments to those minutes? All those in favor? That's everyone except Diane abstaining. Diane Quinteros. That motion passes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 11th, 2014 regular meeting?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any amendments? All those in favor? Everyone except Diane. Abstaining. Diane Quinteros. That motion passes. We now have an opportunity for public comment. If any member of the public would like to comment, raise your hand and be recognized by the chair. All right, seeing that we have no public comment, we'll move on to reports and discussion. And the first item is the 2014-15 budget development update.
Okay, just to bring you up to speed, we have done a little more budget tweaking since our budget workshop on the 8th of March. Since that time, a couple things have happened. We have received a notice of 3 additional retirements, one teaching assistant and 2 teachers who are on your agenda for later this evening to approve. So we've calculated the savings on those 3 positions, and just in terms of the document you have, I'd bring your attention to the 3rd page. The first 2 pages and the top of the 3rd page you've already seen at prior board meetings and board workshop. So we have calculated the savings. There's also been some savings in terms of our insurance premium. Again, not huge savings, but some savings. So just following through on the bottom of page 3, the total changes both up and down in this most recent draft of the budget is in the amount of $183,556. The budget percentage increase as of this draft of the budget is 1.46% budget increase. If you flip over to page 4, our current proposed tax levy increase based on this budget is 1.73% tax levy increase. The maximum allowable tax levy limit, according to the state's formula, calls for a 1.91% tax levy limit percentage. So at this point, we're $47,709 below the tax levy limit. One thing that this calculation does not figure in is any change in state aid. As you've been reading the newspapers, our legislators and governor are working on a budget and attempting to deliver one by the April 1st deadline. At this point, we have no idea whether our state aid will increase. We are hoping it doesn't decrease. We've used the governor's projection, which has traditionally been the worst case scenario. So obviously that's, there's a possibility of some change, hopefully to the better and hopefully not to the worse. So we hope to know that within the next week if they're successful in approving the budget by the April 1st deadline. We'll make any necessary adjustments to that before our next meeting if we know what that state aid figure is by then. We are scheduled to adopt the budget at our next meeting on April 8th. I would recommend that if the state adopts a budget by their April 1st deadline, that we more than likely will proceed with that budget adoption on April 8th. If for some reason the budget is running late, and depending on how late, if that even happens, I would likely suggest to you that we put off budget adoption until the second meeting in April, which I think is April 24th, somewhere around the 25th, but I think I want to say anyway, that fourth Tuesday in April, just 22nd, just to give us that additional time to hopefully have a hard state aid figure. So I think my recommendation to you would be, we'll stay on our schedule unless the budget adoption process at the state level is delayed, in which case I would likely suggest that we delay our adoption to the 22nd of April. We can't delay it any further than that. If there's no budget by then, we're just going to have to go with the figures we have and keep our fingers crossed. For many, many years, we did that routinely when the state was want to have its budget adopted by April 1st. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We have been looking at several potential programs and services as it might be the wish of the board. We have right. This is in the budget already. No, it's not in the budget. That's right. I would be looking at this point in time at funding some money out of that 47,709 for the Curriculum Governance Council that we discussed, in terms of having a full-time STEM teacher for the coming year at our elementary school instead of part-time. I know Mr. King is looking at the schedule to see if we can make that work. I think based on our discussion about a week and a half ago, we thought that starting that position with half-time, half of that position dedicated to STEM instruction, while maybe not ideal, would still advance the program greatly. And so I think we're prepared to go that way. Obviously, if there's some increase in state aid, and the board might want to look in that direction, but right now that's too much of a question mark. Again, I don't want to get too ambitious because we don't have a lot of budget headroom below the tax levy cap number at this point, so I prefer to be conservative at this point in time. Not that I'm expecting a windfall in state aid. Should that occur, then you'll hear me jumping up and down at your house, and we'll have some other recommendations to make to you, but again, I'm not preparing for that party. I guess, Tom, I miss anything that about
No, I
covers it?
think that's it. I mean, not a whole lot has been going on the past couple of weeks, so.
So we wanted to bring to you the adjustments that we have experienced over the last week and a half or two weeks, and it certainly is going in the right direction, and it gives us a little flexibility. We also have made an assumption at this point in time that that any increase on the revenue side of our budget would be from increased state aid. We're not disposed, at this point anyway, to recommend that we use more fund balance to fund any of these additional items. We'd like to be able to get our use of fund balance under control and eventually start to back that off. But we will also like to reschedule last week's canceled Finance Committee meeting if we can, possibly this coming week, and we can discuss some of the logistics of that prior to our next board meeting. But I think we're in reasonably good shape, conservative, but better to be $47,000 below the tax levy cap than $47,000 above. So I also would remind the board that even though we only received 3 resignations before the March 15th deadline, we did have retirements from earlier in the year, and we'd already factored those in because we knew them in advance.
So, Joe, before we open up to other questions,
Yeah.
I just want clarification on what you're saying. So if nothing else changed, if state aid didn't change, there was, the Finance Committee didn't recommend using fund balance anyway, you would recommend that since we're under the tax levy limit by 47.7 to just maybe increase the budget and allow to make room for Curriculum Governance Council? Okay, so that the proposed tax levy increase might be closer to 1.191, but around 1.8
It would still be below
or
that,
something.
yeah.
But okay.
And then again, at that point, I know it seems like splitting hairs, with a budget, the size of our school district's budget, but at that point, we'd look to see what difference there may still be, and whether we would want to do anything with it. There's a few of the smaller items there that we might decide, but I feel confident that we would still stay under that tax levy cap. So,
Are there any questions for Joe or Tom, or discussion items around this? All right, well, thanks for the hard work you've been doing. We are at a good place right now, and if we get some increase in state aid, it will certainly impact this in a positive way. But great. Okay, we move on now to principals' reports. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. Things happening at Chancellor. As always, kind of starting off with some BLPT news. We have nailed down a few school spirit days I mentioned last time, or one of these gentlemen mentioned them. Yeah, last time. John, thank you, sir. We were working on some school spirit days. We kind of nailed down two. One is going to be this Friday. The second is going to be a little bit later in the year, in May sometime. The first is going to be, you may have seen it in the newsletter. If not, it's our hat day, kind of a crazy hat, regular hat, whatever you want. We'll kind of try to get everybody involved. I've got mine picked out, so we're trying to get the kids kind of motivated to do it. We'll also do a red, white, and blue day sometime in May. So those are the two things we'd like to do, something every 6 weeks or something next year. We thought these were too good. It was something we talked about next year, never got going. We thought it was two good things we can move forward with, so that's nailed down. I'll have more BLPT news, some other things we're discussing I can update you on next month. A few things in addition to some of the new enrichment opportunities. Looking forward to setting up a possible STEM fair once approved. I want to thank the RSF for kind of working with us on trying to get that going a little bit later than last year, but we do have some different people working on it. Hopefully we can start to set a standard for that. A few other things. Whale Watch Family Bingo Night was on Friday, March 14th. Another fundraiser to help raise money for the trip in June. Kind of plugging along with that. We got a few more. One of the big ones coming up, the silent auction, so stay tuned for some info on that. March 3rd through March 7th was the PTSO Scholastic Book Fair. I wanted to just, first of all, take an opportunity to thank everyone. It's hard to kind of nail down everyone who mention all the names who helped, especially Thursday night we did the ice cream social, but it was a great success. So not only surpassed, the ice cream social was Thursday, March 6th, by the way. Not only surpassed last year's sales, but exceeded this year's goal. And as a result of surpassing the goal, CLS is provided with more than $500 of scholastic dollars that allow us to buy books that go right into our library. And we've literally been able to do that every year. I think this is the most we've had. I could be wrong, but I know that since we beat our goal this year, that's the number we're working with, which is great. So once again, I just wanted to thank any members of the PTSO, many parents who just wanted to help out, especially that Thursday at the ice cream social. It was just a great event, and it always is every year. Also, our annual Special Friends Day button contest ended yesterday. And I just mentioned that because it's something the kids get really excited about every year. We started a little bit earlier this year to give them a little bit more time. We had more entries than usual, by the way. And like I said, it's always something CLS students get very involved in, so stay tuned for the winner of that. We usually announce it the day of Special Friends Day. For the third year in a row, we'll be doing Principal for the Day as a fundraiser in collaboration with a lot of things that RSF does. So keep an eye out for that, including the possibility of a life-size cutout of me in the main office or the lobby, which we did last year for the first time, freaked some people out. And it was kind of fun because you could literally see it from Knollwood, like it's just me standing there with this big smile on my face. So we'll set that up, get the ball rolling with that, hopefully. Another thing, just wanted to mention, many of you know, earlier this month, just talking about STEM earlier, I had an opportunity to visit Saratoga Springs Lake Avenue School and sit with not only the principal but many teachers. Got to really get a good idea of seeing kind of some of that Project Lead the Way modules embedded in the K-5 classes. So it was a great learning experience for me. And I try to find opportunities to report to you things that I think students and staff kind of organize around, and more recently with Pi Day coming up 3.14, right, or 314. During that week, the entire 5th grade raised money for the Ryan Berger Fund, in memory of an RHS alumnus who recently passed, money going to help disabled students. And it culminated in an event. The reason I mention is because also the event it culminated in, which very often we might not have an event to celebrate that, was a lot of fun. And it culminated in an event that provided the opportunity for grade 5 students to watch the teachers get pied, so to speak. And I personally, when it kind of came to me, and I was talking to the teachers who were organizing the fundraiser, I kind of gave them a challenge. And in hindsight, maybe I should have made it a lot higher because they blew it out of the water. And the challenge was that I would go first. So I did. And it was just another great example of students a chance to kind of what they can accomplish when they come together. So I obviously was the first one, but all their teachers, the teaching assistants, the aides in that grade were there to get pied. It was fun. About a 20-minute activity. And one reason I just wanted to mention it, in addition to I guess the strangeness of that event, but was the fact that the reason we did it that way was because this young man apparently was quite a funny character. One of our teachers actually went to school with him, and we thought it was a good way to kind of show our respect and dedicate that day to him. I will admit this in front of our board and my superintendent that there were a handful of kids. We gave them an opportunity to record it if they wanted to. So it was like this. For 20 minutes, you had all these and by the way, I never see those phones ever. And all of a sudden, we gave them permission in advance, and I haven't seen it posted anywhere, but there's definitely pictures. And then we all obviously recorded it ourselves as well. A few upcoming events: April 1st to the 3rd, we have the 3 through 5 New York State ELA assessment next week. Math will be coming later in April, the 30th through May 2nd. And then looking a little further down, May 29th, another really, thank you to the PTSO. They're putting together Staff Appreciation Day as they do every year. We're tentatively, I think actually it's more than that, it's set for May 29th. So, a few things happening over there.
Very good. Lisa?
Brett, are the ELA assessments the same ones that last year caused a little bit of an uproar?
The same assessments. I don't know what they look like, but I do believe that they still are aligned.
Have you gotten anything from the state on, adjustments over because of what happened last year with timing?
Not necessarily. They did it. It does seem as though, and John can correct me. I know in elementary school 3 through 5. It seems like they upped the time. They made it, they have like kind of that, which I know was one of the issues that we had with it. They have kind of the average student will be able to finish this in 50 minutes. We're adding 20, an extra 20 minutes for 70 minutes. That's 3 and 4. And the 5th grade is a little bit different, but they also added additional time. I think that's one adjustment that I've seen. From what I understand, it's still going to be aligned as far as I will have to see when it comes out. And usually, obviously, we can't open until the morning of. We usually don't even get the materials till like Thursday or Friday this week.
Did Did you hear it?
Yeah, oh, so the STEM fair, it looks great and exciting, and new teachers involved, which is fabulous. I'll point out that one of them is one of our long-term subs too, which people were worried about long-term subs, and I think it's a great way that, they're showing how they can contribute to the school and bring their own talents. This weekend is actually the Dutchess County Science Fair, and I know I say this every year, you can't get to the Dutchess County Science Fair unless you go through your school, so your school science fair has to be first. So at some point, I know, and so last year it was great, and the kids had an amazing experience, and I think the most beneficial experience from it is that the kids get to see other kids' work across the county, and it's just so eye-opening and inspiring for them. So it feels like there's some momentum in yearly science fairs.
Yeah.
And
Let's get it done a little early.
A little early.
There seemed to be a bit of a perfect storm too with some movements and some of the people that usually did do it, pregnancies. And
yeah, sure, no, I get it.
but I was glad to see that we were able to do it, and I thank you guys for putting it on the agenda. And certainly RSF for helping get it through. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I think a big goal will be, next year, kind of solicit some excitement and get it going early.
But it would also be great if, as those kids grow older, they could do it in their upper school years too. It's a nice thing to put on, your college, application, or it's a good experience.
All around.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Great, that's my plug for the night.
Any other questions? I saw in the eclipse from the New York State School Board Association that John King sent a letter, but maybe it was just superintendents.
It was just the superintendent.
Okay. I'm just wondering about the state tests, sort of making their case for why it's a really good thing. Do we send out home letters to parents in grades 3 through 8 to just alert them to the testing dates?
No, usually I just usually put it, in addition to the district calendar, usually just put a reminder in the newsletter. And I actually do have an article for kind of tips for parents who just kind of get a little bit more sleep, a big breakfast, even coming to the morning. And this will all be in this week's newsletter. But if you have a morning program those days, come. Set you up early. We've noticed in the past sometimes if a child has an enrichment program, sometimes they don't. We get less attendance on those days for some reason. We thought maybe it's because of the test. So I think it actually works better. It gets them rolling in the morning and engaged and get something in their stomach even right before the test. So.
Right. Okay.
So
And
that's about all the
I also want to just note that, the things you highlighted this month are really, a lot of them about building community, the spirit days, the fair, bingo night, the book fair, the fundraiser, and, it's just great with so much else that goes on, that you're still focusing on building community at different grade levels.
I'll be
It's
honest,
really important
you gave me a door to plug it. Ms. Locks was a new addition to the building. I know that was a big goal of hers. He even came out in her interview, to be honest, and kind of building community. And she's kind of taken the ball and running with some of those things, which has allowed us to do that. So I appreciate the feedback.
That's great. Great. Thank you. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Shut it up.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to save them to the end because nobody will listen to me. So I wanted to start this evening by sharing out a little bit about Health and Wellness Day that was held on March 14th, a couple of weeks ago. This year was a little bit of a challenge, a little bit more challenging than it has been in years past, both in terms of the planning of the day and the day itself. I want to offer a great big thank you to the parent members of my building level planning team and to Beth Graziano, who managed to put together a presenter pool in about 2 weeks. We typically begin advertising for this day back in the fall. In November, I think we send the first notification home. Because this is a little bit more specialized and we're looking for a particular, a particular career or particular skill around a theme, for whatever reason, we got little to just about no response. And as of, I think, the beginning of February, we were talking about whether or not we were going to hold the day at all. Like I said, parent members went into action, and we managed to create a presenter pool that was actually larger than what we were intending, which was fantastic. We had a wonderful kind of balance of fitness and wellness presenters. We had yoga instructors, Pilates instructors, fencing, Zumba, rowing, presentations on stress management, cardiology, nutrition, holistic medicine, dental hygiene, rock climbing, bicycle safety, all sorts of different things. The day itself began a little hectic. We had 3 of our presenters that weren't able to show up at the very last minute, which really creates some issues in the scheduling. We also had our keynote address speaker, dietitian Rufia Payman, who got stuck behind a bus on her way in from Pleasant Valley. So I'm able to thank Dr. Ali Mahmoud, who jumped in because he knew a whole lot more about nutrition and healthy choices than I did. And I was unprepared, and Ms. Payman did join us just shortly thereafter, and she spent about 20 minutes with the students, providing them with all sorts of really helpful tips in a very short period of time. So again, the day was a resounding success. It is something that we'll continue to do. Next year, the theme is Artisan Action Day, so we're looking forward to that. In our Spanish 1 classes, Nicole Sandoval has partnered with a teacher in Arbeláez, Colombia, through an online email exchange platform called ePals. So each of our middle school and high school students in Spanish 1 have been paired with a student in Colombia ages 13 to 17, who in Colombia are in their 2nd year of learning the English language. In addition to using Spanish in an authentic context, students are going to have the chance to learn about the South American culture and day-to-day life of students their age in a different country. So we're looking forward to that. The teachers are planning to exchange, I believe, 2 emails per month. We've sent our first over just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and the students are anxiously awaiting a reply by the end of the week. In other foreign language news, Nicole Sandoval has teamed up with Matt Fisher and the Rhinebeck High School Spanish Club on the Pulseta project. Pulsetas are bracelets, a Nicaraguan charity project in which students will be selling bracelets, which are handmade in Nicaragua. Bracelets will be sold during BMS and RHS lunch periods next week. 100% of that money is donated back to, directly to those in need in Nicaragua to be used for food, shelter, homes, and schooling. Their goal, if they're able to sell all of the bracelets, is to earn as much as $2,500. And this is in addition to more than $500 that's already been raised by the RHS Spanish Club, 300 of which has been donated to Teleton USA, an organization that helps those in need in the Hispanic community here in the U.S. As Brett said, state testing begins next week with the ELA assessment. With the support of Dr. Davenport, we've taken steps in the middle school to try and create an optimal testing environment for all of our students. Math assessments will follow later in the month. Following next week's state assessment, 7th grade students will begin their literature unit titled The Outsiders. This is a unit that began probably, at this point, I'm going to date myself. It may be 4 or 5 years old at this point, but it's been a very valuable opportunities for students to examine bullying and social isolation through literature, facilitated discussion, and book clubs. They're actually asked to select from 6 different titles, kind of around those common themes. It's proven to be a valuable experience. They're able to kind of focus on making connections to their own experience in their own lives. In preparation for their Shakespeare unit, 8th grade ELA students have begun a research project on Elizabethan theater. Once again, thanks to an arts and education grant, our students are going to have an opportunity to work with performers from the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. And as they have in years past, they're going to work with these performers to adapt their own version of one of Shakespeare's works. Typically, it's been Romeo and Juliet. We're exploring other possibilities this year as well. As a sure sign that winter is ending and spring is just around the corner, modified baseball and softball began just yesterday, with modified track soon to follow next week. And finally, my prop, which I just thought was kind of a neat thing. I had a little bit of a history lesson this afternoon. But I was pulled out of a meeting this morning, and I was visited by a gentleman named David Bulkley, who was the grandson of Dr. Howard Bulkley, for whom the building was named. And he wanted to present to the school and to me a certificate that was actually given to his aunt, Arne Buckley, by the Alaskan State Legislature for her work in the state of Alaska in the field of medicine and nursing. And this was presented to her, or presented to her family, at the dedication of the municipal building in Anchorage, Alaska, that is now named after Arne Bulkley and was dedicated. It houses the Department of Nursing in the state of Alaska. So I thought that was kind of a neat thing to share with all of you, and we'll find a place upstairs to hang it.
That's terrific. Yeah. Very good, thank you. Any questions for?
Quick question, I'm not sure whether this is going to be for you or for Ed. I understand the 8th graders were visited by the guidance counselors today.
They were.
And is there some more you can tell us about sort of how that program
Sure,
is?
this is just, this is a meeting that's held and a presentation that's given by the guidance department every spring to the 8th grade students, and it's really in preparation. They just present them with some information about, planning for their high school. This is in preparation for individual meetings that will be held with parents and students, and will be scheduled throughout the month of April and probably into the very beginning of May.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? Well, I just want to acknowledge as well the work that you do with the members of our community for this Health and Wellness Day, which is really great, those links between members of our community. But really also these other programs that are extending our connections beyond our own community into Colombia and Nicaragua. So I appreciate you reporting on that and the work that those teachers do in that field. And I would also just recommend that you try to communicate some of what that certificate is and our link to the Bulkley family to the school community in some way through your newsletter but that was very generous of him, very nice of him to make that link. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to start with some academic updates, and as my colleague Mr. Kemnitz did, I'll start with the Spanish, our Spanish classes. As you recall, this is the first year that, thanks to cooperation in Buckley Middle School and Mr. Fisher's accepting a 6th class in lieu of duty, we were able to offer a senior level Spanish course for our seniors who wish to continue the study of Spanish to keep their skills up to par before they go off to college. Students in Mr. Fisher's Spanish 5 course recently completed a project in which, in pairs, they planned and then delivered instruction to lower-level Spanish students in Spanish 1 and 2. This was done, of course, with Mr. Fisher's oversight and guidance to make sure that both the course objectives and the curricular goals were appropriate. Mr. Fisher reports that the project was a major success, and both the underclassmen and our seniors benefited greatly from this experience. And we look forward to seeing other ways in which our older students can partner and help induct our younger students into different content areas in Spanish. On March 6th, our AP Biology class had their second all-day in-school field trip. The students performed enzyme labs, which, as Ms. Christie explained to me, involved their designing their own protocol and testing enzyme activity with a chosen variable. And if you ask me any more about that experiment, I'm going to run out of the on March 12th and 13th, we had a guest speaker, Dr. Heidi Kaplan, for AP Biology. She spoke to our students from the Department of Microbiology and Molecular Genetics at the University of Texas Medical School. And she spoke with our students about bacterial quorum sensing, which, as I understand it, experimenters use bacteria which exhibit a certain trait when the population of the bacteria reaches a quorum, reaches a certain level. It's used to test for certain diseases and things of that nature. This non-pathogenic, Ms. Christie wanted me to emphasize non-pathogenic bacteria fluoresces when it's in a certain population density. And with Mr. Teeter's help, We were able to locate a couple of rooms down in the basement where there's very little light, and the bacteria in a certain group actually will glow in the dark. So the students had a wonderful time, great questions and interactions with Dr. Kaplan, and it was a wonderful experience for students on many levels. In the arts, on Tuesday, March 11th, this is a makeup trip. 50 of our students from drawing, painting, mixed media, and advanced art visited the Metropolitan Museum of Art. This was funded by a grant from the Arts and Education Committee. 12 of our students, 6 from Mrs. Baer's class and 6 from Mrs. Giles' class, will be taking part in a personalized art portfolio review hosted by the New York State Art Teachers Association Saturday, the 29th at DCC. And finally, in the arts, one of our seniors in advanced art exploration received the Gold Key Award, which is the highest honor given in the Scholastic Arts and Writing Competition for her work this year. I want to take a moment to update you on some BLPT work. As you probably recall, I can't remember how long ago, 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago, we initiated an alumni welcome back breakfast, which was, we ran for a couple of years, and we had a number of students and alums come back, but really didn't have the turnout that we were hoping for. In discussing this with the BLPT wondered whether another time of day and another time of year might be more amenable for some of our recent grads whose biological clocks, as I recall, when my stepchildren came back from school and back when I was in college, really, aren't fit for early morning meetings. So the BLPT is going to pilot an alumni welcome back barbecue this year. We're looking at May 30th as a date. We're hoping to invite as a pilot just last year's grads coming back until about 3, so they'd be able to meet with some of their teachers and some of our current seniors. And the hook and the real one of the real objectives from the BLPT would be to have our guests fill out a quick survey to see what their experiences were, how well we prepared, how well the school prepared them for their careers after high school, where we can improve, what we're doing well. So that's in the planning stages are finalized. I think we're all ready to go, and I look forward to reporting back to you, and hopefully this will be a success for us. For the 8th year now, with the cooperation of the Council on Addiction Prevention and Education, next week, April 2nd at 7 o'clock, we'll host a teen driving presentation. This presentation is required for our students in order to obtain a parking permit and park on campus. And this program features victim impact speakers, as well as presentations from the legal profession, medical profession, and the insurance profession. The Dutchess County Board of Elections will begin visiting our senior social studies classes this quarter to register eligible students to vote. And finally, as you well know, but I'll mention it again since tickets are on sale in the main office, our school musical takes place April 4th, 5th, and 6th. Next week on April 1st, senior members of our cast will be going on an excursion to give an on-air live interview with WKNY, that's 1490 AM, 8:45, thereabouts on Tuesday, April 1st. And I'll send a quick reminder just so people can tune in. I know those call letters because that's one of my snow day emergency closing calls. I'll give them a plug. That's an update from the high school.
Very good. Any questions for Dr. Demper? Well, thank you so much. I'm always just so thrilled to hear all that's going on, and really, I think the variety of content areas in which interesting things you're reporting to us are, whether it's biology, Spanish, the arts, and as well in the middle school. So I just thanks for sharing that. Always good information. Oh, yeah.
Actually, I did have a question, I just forgot. The Spanish 5 students who are teaching the Spanish 1 and 2 students, how many seniors were participating in that?
The entire class was participating in delivering lessons.
Do you know how many kids that was?
We have, off the top of my head, we probably have 12 or 13 students enrolled in Spanish 5.
That's a good turnout.
Yeah. I remember making all the way through the program.
Right. Thank you.
Very good. Thanks very much, all of you. All right. We move on now to 2014-15 school calendar draft, which is in your board packet.
It's in your board packet number 6.8. Anyway, we've been working with draft calendars for the coming year for about, I'd say since January. One correction I'd like you to make on that document that's in your board packet before you vote on it later on in the meeting is September 25th, which is a Thursday. That you ought to shade that in. That will be a day off from school. That's Rosh Hashanah. And then it will be followed the next day by Superintendent's Conference Day, which is on your calendar. So I just want to make sure what you vote on reflects that day is.
So what are the days again, Jim?
Just one day. It's Thursday, September 25th.
Okay.
It will be a day off for Rosh Hashanah, and then the following day, the 26th, is Superintendent's Conference Day. The only, I think, significant difference between this calendar and on the current year's calendar is that there is an extra snow day built into the calendar. So this calendar features 6 potential snow days instead of the 5. If you want to take chances. And of course, we, given that our teacher's contract specifies a set number of days, work days per year, 184 work days per year. If we have unused snow days left over, then we will close school on those days. So we'll play that by ear as next year rolls through the winter months, especially. I don't know if you have any questions about that. I will tell you that also that this calendar closely but not identically maps to Duchess Bosey's calendar, and I would say most of the calendars in the county, none of the calendars in the county are identical. Different school districts have different length of teacher work years, which requires districts to do different things with the configuration of days. So we're getting calls from parents already asking when the school vacations next year are. So we like to, and this is about the time we usually approve a calendar for the next year. So as soon as, if you're able to approve this evening, then we'll post that on our website and publicize it. So if you have
Any questions?
I'd be glad to answer.
Laura?
Just a quick question about the October Superintendent's Conference Day. Is there a reason that we try to do 2 long weekends back to back rather than doing that Superintendent's Conference Day on the 14th?
Yeah, I believe, and I wish I asked that question while these gentlemen were here, but I think it has to do with the timing of getting, relative to the MAPS testing and writing student learning objectives. That's why it's there. And we brought that up to the administrators as a possibility, but they felt that it needed to be on the next weekend so they would have the data back for the teachers to use.
Okay.
Not too late, but obviously earlier would be too early. So that's the reason.
Okay, thanks.
Lisa, did you have a question?
Yes. When do you expect to get confirmation on the Regents' dates for June?
I believe those are the dates that the Regents have already, they give us I'll say they gave us a calendar. I can't sit here today and guarantee you that those will be the dates next year. I mean, it's not the first time that they haven't tweaked their calendar during the year, but that's the most recent calendar, so that's the one we'll
Well, I mean,
go by.
if there were going to be changes, how much ahead of time would you learn what they were?
I would say they would probably let us know by sometime in the fall or by January.
Okay.
And some years it is what they say it is. There's no reason for it to change. But again, I'd be lying if I said that there haven't been years when they've changed it.
Okay.
But I imagine it'll be pretty close to that.
So for Thursday, the 25th of June, if that Regents rating date were to change, would that change the day that the school closed for the school year?
Yes, that would. That would. And our contractual calendar is bookended by Labor Day on the front end and the last Regents Day on the back end. So, yeah, it would have that effect.
Okay.
And we'd have to make, that'd give us another vacation day that we'd have to build in, or another snow day that we'd have to give back if we didn't use it. That would be the effect of, if that happened, that's how we'd have to respond to it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, this year looks, next year looks very straightforward.
Yeah,
So
it is
pretty
very
complicated,
much like
so-
our calendar this year.
Very good. Okay, our next item is board committee reports. I think there's just policy.
There's just policy and
The CDAP.
perhaps a brief
Yeah, sure.
word about CDAP, but this was not a busy couple of weeks.
Diane, yeah.
So the first issue we discussed was an issue that came up in the breakfast with the board. We talked about, there was a concern about technology, the use of that on our buses, specifically at Chancellor. So we talked about that and how that came to be, and it was added to the policy several years ago. At that time, we were kind of talking about Game Boys, things like that, and it's kind of evolved now, and elementary kids now have smartphones. So we talked about that. As far as any inappropriate material, I mean, it's covered in the Code of Conduct. It's not allowed whether they're on the bus or wherever they are. So it is covered in that way. But of course, there aren't monitors on our bus, so, there isn't necessarily anyone monitoring what's being viewed on the bus. So we talked about that, and would be a big expense to add monitors to the bus for that purpose. But like I said, because the policy does cover it, there hasn't been any issue, and nothing has happened. There hasn't been anything like that. The policy gets reviewed every year, so that doesn't get changed in policy committee. If there weren't any changes to the code of conduct, it's an ad hoc committee that looks at that. So that's something that they would probably look at again, specifically to that issue if they want to make changes. But we, as far as our part, weren't looking to make any changes to it. But it's kind of an interesting thing is how it's evolved and changed. We continued our review of the policies. We have two that we're going to wait for further information, and then everything else that we've gone through that day, there were no changes to.
Okay, great. Any questions? All right, so you just felt that as long as the code of conduct is reviewed annually and that covers inappropriate use of
Right, it is
technological
covered as far as
devices,
what's
then
allowed
there's no reason
to use.
to.
I mean, just because they have a smartphone doesn't mean that they can, view anything they want on it.
Right. Okay. All right, thank you. I'll report just for the, there was a CDEP meeting, that's the Comprehensive District Education Plan Committee meeting last week. And 2 weeks ago, was it? Okay. So that discussion was about really the curriculum governance structure and the structure of the CDEP team now, which is made up of teachers, parent representatives, administrators. I represent the board this year. Joe Phelan, Marvin Krebs runs those meetings, but and out of that grew these vertical teams that are subject-specific, K-12, that also evaluate curriculum and our curriculum sort of oversee curriculum development in different subject areas, K-12, and that's been a process. But there was a question, and we discussed whether that structure is still the best way to approach how we're looking at how we evaluate and develop curriculum. So through Race to the Top initiatives and school reform initiatives, the state has talked about building teams, and that has previously been discussed at CDEP, whether we should look at that model now. And also, we discussed what we've been talking about at Curriculum Governance Council. And there was a lot of good discussion about trying to find the most efficient use of teachers' time in order to work together to develop curriculum. And nothing has been decided at the CDEP level, but we left it that Marvin would write something more specific about what a Curriculum Governance Council responsibilities would be, how it would interface with CDEP, and also each building will look at sort of what a building level curriculum governance structure would look like, and how we might still maintain a K-12 flow, but also maybe just adapt the structure so that people within buildings are communicating with each other more. It seems like people felt that the vertical teams have done a good job, but that maybe that job has created a good platform by which we can actually kind of shift away a little bit from that particular structure. I thought it was good discussion. I don't know if you have anything to add, Joe, but it was sort of an entree into the discussion that we've about the Curriculum Governance Council and what that's going to look like.
Yeah, I thought there was good consensus around the table that that direction is one that made sense to all the stakeholder groups, and as you mentioned, Marvin's going to start to flesh that out a little bit for us, and hopefully by the end of this year we'll have a different structure to put into place for the coming school year and thereafter, which is more conducive to addressing these kinds of decisions in a way that the Regents Reform Initiative is indicating we need to go. So I think we're heading in a good direction with that.
Lisa?
If we were to get to the point in the budget discussions where the board decided to add as an item from the wish list the governance council, the Curriculum Governance Council, do you have a sense that that's something that would be ready to put into place for the next school year?
Yeah, I believe so. Especially if we are able to finish this work this year, which I have every belief that we'll be able to, and then if there's budget support for that piece of the planning process, then I don't see that there would be any impediments other than lack of interest if there is such. But
you mean lack of interest on the part of?
Well, yeah, I mean, people would have to volunteer to participate.
On the part of the staff?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not saying I anticipate that happening, but I'm just trying to pinpoint potential obstacles. Financing would be one. If there's budget support for that addresses that issue. I think it's very doable in a fairly short period of time. And they'll need some time to kind of get up and running and get their own lay of the land, but any new process is going to have some transition time.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I certainly communicated that the board supports, efforts to provide more time and compensation for that time for a Curriculum Governance Council, because one of the things we see in the CDEP meetings is the lack of time teachers have even to come to CDEP meetings. So, this can often be a little bit of coming and going of various participants because of the need to be in the classroom or attend to their work during the day. So, I think it's always a nice collaboration, those meetings, and I think it's been useful to have an arena to communicate to people directly our collective support for efforts to do curriculum work. So I just want to assure you that I definitely did communicate that, and I think that helps support everyone there as they're trying to think of good ways to more efficiently put together. So great. Our next meeting, the CDEP meeting, is in May, early May.
I just had one quick question. So later in the meeting, we're being asked to recertify the current CDEP plan. And it's there's a due date for that, but is there any penalty for not recertifying the plan as it stands now, which doesn't look much like what we do today?
Frankly, I would guess not. I bring it to the board's attention because there's a requirement to renew that plan, and, renewing the plan does, knowing that it's going to be going through a transition phase doesn't lock us into using an old plan for 2 years. I mean, we can change it anytime we feel there's a need to change it going forward. My inclination is to want to keep with the State Education Department's timeline. Are they going to send somebody down here with a big club if we don't do that this spring? Likely not. In fact, I will tell you that the form that I downloaded off the SED website, remember this is an every 2-year kind of recertification or renewal with the plan. The form I downloaded off the SED website said 2012 at the top. For what, you read into that what you will. I'm not sure how high a priority that is for the State Education Department, but I'd be derelict in my duty if I didn't bring that task to the board according to SED's timeline, so I'm doing such.
Okay.
I think one of the important things that Marvin said at the beginning of the meeting was that, and I think we've talked about it here over time, is to do our, the responsibilities we have that the state is putting down. And he shared with us that he's getting, new directives daily, emails from the state. So there's sort of shared decision-making thing, which CDEP sort of grows out of the concept of shared decision-making isn't their priority anymore. But we continue to follow the regulations as they come down, but that what we need to do as CDEP is make it ours, and take what our responsibilities are as far as the region's reform agenda, but make it ours. So that the purpose of sort of having a conversation about CDEP and the structure of CDEP is to do it a way that feels right for us. So, and I think, he's done a terrific job making that happen. All right, so we move on to the comment section of the agenda. We always hear a lot of good news when the principals are here, but does anyone have any additional good news they'd like to add? Joe?
I have one, yeah. Tom Brunel represented the district today at a twice yearly meeting for professional development held by our insurance carrier, Utica National, and Tom received a School Safety Excellence Award at the Platinum level. They have 3 levels. I guess inflation has hit this award because it's gold, platinum, and titanium. So bronze, silver, and gold are only for the Olympics apparently. Anyway, we were presented with the School Safety Excellence Award at the Platinum level. So we're doing pretty well in that respect. I give a lot of credit for that to Tom and to Sheldon Teeter for the work they do together to make sure we have safe buildings and safe grounds and athletic fields and playgrounds and whatnot. And we'll see if we can bump it up to titanium some year soon. But I think the last one we got was a gold award, so we're moving in the right direction anyway. And thanks to Tom and Sheldon for that.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you, very good. Any other good news anyone would like to share? All right, then we move on to old business. Do we have any items for old business, anyone? Seeing none, then we move on to our second opportunity for public comment. Would any member of the public like to comment? If you would, raise your hand. Okay, if you'd like to speak, you can. I just want to, as a reminder, that we don't entertain comments here of a personal nature about any, staff or students, but feel free.
So, hello, my name's Roger Kwan. I'm 15 Rockefeller Lane of the Village of Rhinebeck. So, my family and I have been out of the community for a little bit, so I'm trying to catch up. And So I was looking through the website and very encouraged to see a statement on your objectives as a board, specifically the commitment to create an educational culture, shorthand here, committed to provide all students with a challenging and creative curriculum that is sensitive to each student's individual needs and strengths. I appreciate the comments that you just made on the CDEP. But I was I guess I was looking for more information because as you mentioned that the most recent plan only goes to 2012, and I didn't know if there was a new one published. And second, I was wondering if the board had any readout or status on the curriculum. I guess that's still in progress. But one thing I am interested in, when you're developing curriculum, are you also assessing the kind of the reporting structures? So like a report card. How do you know that your curriculum is being, how can parents and families and teachers better use a report card to assess adherence to the new curriculum objectives? And what else? Being out of district for a while, I have seen other reporting formats. I wonder if the board had considered different reporting formats for the curriculum objectives. So if interested, I'm more than happy to share our experiences on that front. Carrying on to this point, you mentioned that the CDEP was a community or board with teachers, board members, administrators, and community members. But honestly, I couldn't find any, how do I as a community member volunteer or get involved? I didn't see any contact information for that. So if the board could share that information, that would be appreciated. And I also, looking through the website, I saw that there were a number of committees, personnel, curriculum audit, finance policy, and so on. But I didn't really see a description of the purpose or an agenda for either committee. So that was a question for me. And lastly, I unfortunately don't work in Rhinebeck, but can make time to participate in committees if there's an ability to participate remotely, either by teleconference or web conference. And I believe there are probably some free services to do that. So is there, has the board considered that option?
Right. So I'll just take a minute to answer a couple of questions that I know the answer to. One is that we often look to the PTSO to get parent volunteers for various committees. And actually, just to address sort of the overall issue, since we have engaged a director of technology, we are hoping to improve the website in terms of some piece of information on that are missing. But the PTSO is where the district looks to get parent volunteers in general. But at any time, if there's a committee that you see that you want more information, whether it happens at the building level or the district level, you're always welcome, any parent, to contact the building out of which that committee meets to volunteer. Many of the curriculum documents are on the website. I don't know, Joe, if you want to address some of the curriculum documents.
Sure. The curriculum documents that are posted currently are the documents that predated the ones that are being developed now. All of our curricula are being, I think the core areas, math, English language arts, and soon to be science when we receive the new science standards will be redeveloped as well. So our staff has been working for the last summer, and in fact we just had a curriculum meeting today, and our Marvin Krebs, our Director of Curriculum Instruction, is hopeful that we'll have the new curriculum documents completed by the end of the summer for the board to approve at the beginning of this coming year. Once they're board approved, then they'll be uploaded to the website. Right now, because of the Common Core and the Regents Reform agenda, we're in transition. And as Marvin explained it today, in a number of cases, we're writing curriculum and curriculum objectives one step ahead of the next lesson because of the rapid rollout of the Common Core. So as soon as they've been developed, vetted by the board, then they'll be uploaded. We hope to be able to do that by the end of the summer or early fall. That's our timeline.
So can I make one?
And I'll just also address the issue about, if you have questions about curriculum issues, you can always address them to Joe or to Marvin Krebs, the Director of Curriculum Instruction as well. I know the Curriculum Committee has looked at report cards in the past. I know the Chancellor report cards were redone, and any work on that would go through the board curriculum committee. Any experiences you would like to share about, types of report cards or that you would like to share. I think the curriculum committee members are listed on the webpage under board committees. And of course,
Just
always you can communicate with the superintendent for any information on that.
Yeah, on the topic of report cards, I think it was only within the last 2 years, the elementary school did a major revision of their report cards. So those report cards, not really cards anymore, I guess, but those report cards are less than 2 years old, and they were written with the idea that they would be compatible with the curricula that were going to be written according to the Common Core standards. So they were kind of ahead of that curve in making sure to structure those in a way that would be compatible with the Common Core. So hopefully we won't. I mean, that was a several-year process just to write and revise those and get all the Common Branch teachers and the specials area teachers kind of on board with the same structure. So I don't anticipate we're going to be doing a major revision of that, given that we've only been into it for less than a year and a half or so. But if you have ideas to pass along, I'd be glad to pass them along to Marvin Krebs and to Brett King, our elementary principal. You can feel free to contact either of them directly, but you can use me as a conduit. For that, we're glad to take a look at what else is out there that may help us at this point. I would imagine we'd be tweaking what we have now as opposed to doing a mass overhaul. The other thing that we just started doing with those cards is making them available to parents online in a digital format through the parent portal. So we literally just started doing that earlier this year. So I think we'd like to let it run for a little while and see how it's working, work the bugs out before we maybe look at a more extensive revision, because there's a lot of effort in creating those, and those were created in-house. We didn't pull them off the shelf, but any input that you'd like to send our way, we'd be glad to take a look at it and see how ours matches up with what other people are using.
All right, I'll sit.
Sure, that'd be great.
I guess one question, maybe I didn't just to comment on some of what you said, is I'm trying to understand, most of the curricula are usually grade level oriented, and I found that the board statement on being sensitive to each student's individual needs and strengths was interesting. So I guess I'll follow up with you, Joe, and perhaps Marvin Krebs about how do you tailor a curriculum to an individual? Because some there's a continuum of learning rates and abilities, and so how do you serve the individual students' needs? And I guess that's what I'm curious about too.
Yeah, we had a conversation about that just earlier today at our curriculum committee. And we can talk offline at greater depth, and I'd be glad to, and I'm sure Marvin would be glad to sit down with you. But we talked a lot about differentiation today at our curriculum committee, and that's that's a way to. That's probably the most effective way, although probably the most difficult way for the teacher to tailor a curriculum to an individual student. But that topic was brought up at one of our recent coffees with the board, and we spent couple hours today with our director of curriculum talking about how that works. So again, give me or give Marvin a call or an email or whatever, and we can follow up with more detail, and that we can spend this evening. But it's great questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you very
All
much.
right.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? All right, seeing none, then we move on to our action items.
Other?
Other, I'm sorry, excuse me.
She has other.
So I just wanted to respond to Roger's comments a little bit. In general, what I see him saying is, although he's not new to our community, he left, moved away, and came back. And as a new parent, any new parent, moving back to your community, you look at the websites of the school districts, trying to decide where you want to go. If there's information that we're not sharing that's going to entice you into our school district, I think we want to know that from a communication point of view. Because we want new students to come here and their first impression on the website to be positive. So thank you for bringing that to the attention. And I saw Deirdre taking lots of notes on your comments, but I agree too. Sometimes I think that it's nice to be able to go onto the website and see the whole outline of the curriculum, and I know it's in flux, but eventually I think that's what parents do want to see now, is what's being covered.
Yeah, that's what we want to provide.
Deirdre.
I just want to follow up based on that comment and also Roger's comment, how really helpful it is to members of the board in talking through these issues in the curriculum committee today. Just to reiterate what Joe said, we spent 2 hours talking about comments that were brought to us by members of the community about confusion around these issues, how it's communicated, and differentiated learning in general. So it's very much on our radar, and we're very grateful to people for taking the time to come out and communicate that with us. So we're mindful of it, and it's both a kind of really an issue of communication for us at the board level as well. Anything else under other?
I had another. I had shared with you all an article from the New York Times yesterday, I guess, that a parent had sent to me. She had hoped to come to the coffee but didn't. And it's sort of the renewed discussion about start times for high school, middle school kids, and the neurology behind kids needing sleep and not being able to sleep until later in the evening and not being able to get up early. I, as a new board member, don't know what conversations have ever happened around this table on this topic, but it feels like there has been discussion in the past. So I'm curious about that idea, and if this is an idea that this board wants to take up or consider, or if there have been avenues explored in the past.
My suggestion, and of course we didn't get to it today because we spent our chunk of time on balanced literacy and differentiated instruction. I think I would suggest that that's a great topic for one of our upcoming curriculum committee meetings. I can give you the backstory over the last 15, 16 years. It has surfaced a number of times, and like we do many times with with issues that kind of get hashed out at the committee level. If there's a feeling at the committee level that this is something that we want to bring to the attention of the full board for consideration, then we can do that, or maybe it needs some more study before we do that. But that, as you all know, sitting around this table, that's how our process works. So let's get it on the agenda of one of our next meetings, and
Deirdre, do you want to add that as well?
I can give you the history.
I'll add that to the minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, great.
Joe,
Thank you.
has that ever come up? Because that wouldn't be a decision that just our district could make. Obviously,
Yeah.
we switch the hours, talking about sports. All the districts would kind of have to make that decision.
Well,
Is that something that comes up there?
Well, I think you just hit on one of the, I want to get into vetting that whole topic here, but that's one of the topics that has come up a couple times in the past when it's been raised, because quite frankly, the rest of the school districts don't necessarily want to change their sports schedules. I was just talking about how not a single school district in this county has the same calendar. The likelihood that 13 districts or if you want to talk about sports schedules, 50 or 60 districts want to do the same thing and are agreeable to changing their sports schedules. Very difficult for that to happen. So that's something that was considered the last time that this was discussed, amongst other issues, but that's an impediment.
I'll share that it might have been 10 years ago or so, Joe.
It's
There
been a
was
while,
a
yeah.
committee that was formed in the district to look at the issues and make some recommendations. And when that committee made the recommendations, the middle school cafeteria was filled with people, and it was very contentious with lots of different ideas. There was not agreement. And actually, my recollection, we didn't do anything because, in fact, most people didn't want to change anything for a whole host of reasons. Not many reasons that, you wouldn't think, well, the older kids babysit for the younger kids when they come home. So if you start switching timelines and older kids are coming home before they're, after the little ones, what happens there? Of course, we have the whole bus issue. The bus is an expense. If everyone was on the same schedule, then you need twice as many buses, but bus drivers work half the time, and how do you get bus drivers to do that? So, not to say that we shouldn't address it again, and I've always thought even another, 20 minutes might be nice, at least in our house, but it's been just, that was 10 years ago at least, but it was contentious, complex. Even though it's a good idea, I think there are lots of issues there.
So let's lay them out.
Okay.
Okay, anything else under other?
Yeah, just one quick one. I had mentioned at our last meeting about a legal update that's being held on April 10th. Lisa asked to go. I'm planning to go. 3 of our administrators are going. I have to register us by, I think the deadline is April 3rd. So if you have an interest in attending, I'm just reminding you, please let me know before the end of this week, because I'd like to get us registered so we don't get shut out. That's just a reminder.
Okay, and then Joe, just did our places too, I think I got this in the mail today, right? The vote for the BOCES budget is April 22nd.
Yes, which is the night of our meeting.
Which is the night of our meeting, so I think the past couple of years, I don't know, when there's been a contested election for their board spots, I've tried to get information on the candidates, so anything I can find out, I'll pass along. Okay, anything else under other? Then we'll move on. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the consent item?
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the donation of books to BMS teachers and the BMS RHS library as a result of the 2013-14 PATSO book fair in the total amount of $1,019.62 from the Rhinebeck PTO as stipulated?
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions? Thanks to the PTSO for all the hard work and for that generous donation. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Susan Dumas, teaching assistant, for the purpose of retirement, as stated, effective June 30th, 2014.
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Vincent Nugent, Rhinebeck High School English teacher, for the purpose of retirement, as stated, effective July 1st, 2014.
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the resignation of Linda Sutherland, Rhinebeck High School mathematics teacher, for the purpose of retirement, as stated, effective July 1st, 2014.
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve an additional spring coach for the 2013-14 school year, baseball modified, Todd Martin, at $2,286.
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to recertify the district's plan for shared decision-making and structured participation?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to adopt the proposed Rhinebeck Central School District 2014-15 school calendar?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve an increase of Fawn Johnson's position as an elementary art teacher assigned to the Chancellor Livingston Elementary School from .8 FTE to .9 FTE effective March 26, 2014?
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept the donation of one HP Color LaserJet 3000N series printer at an estimated value of $350 from Ms. Robin Berger, a member of the school district's instructional staff?
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? It's very generous of Ms. Berger, so thank you. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the appointment of Tanya Davis to the civil service position of personnel assistant with a probationary period of 26 weeks, effective April 1, 2014, at a salary of $35,000 prorated?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve a leave under the Family and Medical Leave Act for Donna Hahn, effective February 7, 2014, with such leave to be taken as paid leave through May 9, 2014?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve additional advisors for the 2013-14 school year, effective March 20th, 2014?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept a grant award from the Rhinebeck Science Foundation in the amount of $1,791 as stipulated in support of the implementation of the STEM fair at Chancellor Livingston Elementary School per the grant application submitted by Allison Baccarino, CLS computer teacher?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. Any questions or comments? Thank you to the Rhinebeck Science Foundation. It's very much appreciated. I know Diane spoke to it earlier in the meeting, but again, with the support of the Science Foundation and the PTSO, it's always, we can get a lot done in the school, so thank you. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the appointment of Rosemarie Messina as a long-term substitute in the position of family and consumer science teacher at the Bulkley Middle School at the pleasure of the board, effective on or about March 26, 2014, through the end of the school year at the salary of step 13 MA plus 15, $82,788 prorated in accordance with the 2013-14 RTA salary schedule. This appointment is to fill the vacancy created by the leave of absence granted to Elise Dolce, family and consumer science teacher at the Bulkley Middle School.
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the list of additional emergency conditional substitute teachers and non-instructional staff for the 2013-14 school year?
So moved.
By Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Lisa. All those in favor? That's unanimous. That motion passes. May I have a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing collective negotiations with the Teachers Association and also to the employment history of particular persons?
So moved.
By Mark?
Second.
Second by Lisa. All those in favor? That's unanimous. We're moving now into executive session. Thank you. Water?
No, it tastes a little bit.